What's up, everyone? We're back at it again today, and we're going to be doing some maintenance on the man. So as you can tell, the garage is a little crowded now with our new bike. If you haven't seen that, we'll put a link to that video here. We have the 73 Super Beetle with the WRX kind of Frankenstein motor swap. And now we have our 2009 Crown Vic in desperate need of a brake job. So tune in as we get that done, but before anything, make sure you hit the subscribe button and you hit the notification bell because we're going to have a lot of content around all these projects in the coming weeks. So here we go. So usually what we would do here is, generally what I do is I would do the front brakes and then the rear brakes, just because that's a little easier. You can kind of keep the same tools across them. Because we are very crowded in the garage right now with all the projects as I've mentioned, we're actually going to do the driver's side and then the passenger side. So I'll jack up the driver's side, get the jack stands under it, remove the wheels, remove the caliper brackets, change out the rotors, change out the pads, and then we'll go to the passenger side and do the same thing.
So now that we have the wheels off, we can kind of see how old and beat these rotors are. So it's definitely going to be a good replacement to do. And what we'll have to do for all four corners is essentially we'll remove a bolt here and a matching one on the bottom to take the whole caliper off, and we'll sit it on like a jack stand to keep the hose from being stretched or strained. Then we'll remove the caliper bracket so that we can take the rotor off. Then we'll put the new rotor on, put the caliper bracket back on, replace the brake pads, and put the rotor back on. So now I'll do that for both the front and the rear on the driver's side, and like I said, then we'll turn the car around and do the same thing on the passenger side.
Alright, so now we have everything off from the rear and the front. So really all we have left to do is we'll hit everything real quick with a wire wheel just to make sure it's all clean and doesn't have any brake dust left on it. And then we'll go to put on the new parts. But I just want to show you guys what we have for the new stuff. I got this off of Rock Auto. It is the Power Stop Z23 kit. And it came with some beautiful rotors for this Crown Vic. And it came with, I guess this was highly reviewed for kind of like your spirited street driving. So they're carbon fiber ceramic brake pads. Like I said, it's the Z23 kit, so I think they make this for most cars. But like I said, so the next thing we'll do is we'll wire wheel anything that's left on the car, and then we'll replace all the new components. I should say replace with all the new components.
Alright, so now that we have everything relatively clean, we will reassemble. So luckily this came with everything we needed. It has the kind of like rubber grommets, I guess you would say, and the metal slider pieces we need and everything. So we'll disassemble the caliper as well and put all the new pieces on. And then what I always like to use for my grease, or for my lubricant for the brakes, is this stuff. You can get this at AutoZone. I'll put a link in the description, but I use this on everything and I've had great results, so I'll stick with that. And then we just have a bottle of brake clean to clean off the rotors, get any oil off that, and clean up any parts before we put everything back together. So we get the new rotor cleaned up and on here. It looks beautiful. So really, and you guys saw I put in the new sliders and those like the bushings for those, or I guess the caps for those. So really all that's left is to put the brake pads on the caliper and assemble it onto the bracket. And I misspoke earlier. In the front you have to remove the caliper bracket to get the rotor off, but on the rear you only need to remove the caliper and not the bracket. So we'll get the brake pads on here, and then we'll do the same on the front, and we'll be all done on the driver's side. Same situation here. We're gonna take this apart and replace the rubber grommets, or whatever you want to call them, replace the hardware, and then we'll put the rotor on, the caliper bracket, and then the caliper with the new pads. Alright, so we have the driver's side completely done. Rotors are on, brake pads are in, calipers are rebolted up, everything is torqued down. So from here, we'll put the tires on, pull the car out, switch it around, and we'll get onto the passenger side. And then from there, all we have to do is bed in the brake pads and we'll be all set. So unfortunately, we've hit a pretty significant roadblock here. So on the passenger rear brake, I was going about removing all the parts, and then I found a significant gear oil leak. I don't know how easy it is to see on camera, but the brake shoe, inside the brake caliper, the sliders I took off, and even the actual brake pad are all coated with gear oil, which means we definitely have a bad axle seal. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to finish the brake job until I replace this axle seal. So with that being said, this is where I'm going to end the video for today, because we're not going to finish the brakes. Lucky for you guys, we did do the whole driver's side, so you'll be able to use that for reference if you ever need to do a brake job on a P71 Crown Vic for yourself. But unfortunately, we won't be finishing it, because to remove the axle, I would have to take the brakes off again. So that really doesn't make any sense. So keep a heads up, because very soon I will be coming out with a video on how to do the axle seals and axle bearings in this 8.8 rear end, because we need to do it immediately so I can be driving this car again. So as always, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, and hope to see you again soon.